So, welcome on behalf of Crossword Bookstores and Penguin India Publishing House. So, first of all, a warm welcome to our guest today, Sheikhar Kapoor sir, and our author, Sam Petroda sir. So, good day to y'all, because y'all, I guess the viewers and y'all, so Shekhar sir is in London, Sam sir is in Chicago, and our viewers are also watching from different time zones. So good day to all of you, and welcome once again on behalf of Crossword and Penguin India. We have gathered here virtually in these times, in these day and age, for one more book launch, and that is, we are going to witness an historic book launch event today with the intellectuals, and it's really a privilege to be part of this book launch. So thank you once again. And before we get the conversation starting, I would just like to formally introduce our author and the guest for today. So I would start with Sheikhar Kapoor sir. Everyone knows him for his movies. We have loved him. He's an Indian film director, actor, and film producer, known for his works in Hindi cinema and international cinema. Who could forget, like Mr. India and Elizabeth, especially. But he made his beginning in the career from, recurring role in the TV series Khandan, which became like a household name. And then he went on to, for his directorial debut in the cult Bollywood movie film Masu in 1983. So that's about Shekhar Kapoor, sir. Good day once again and welcome. I would move on to the author, Sam Petroda, sir. He's popularly known as a father of Indian computer and IT revolution. Sir is an internationally recognized telecom inventor, entrepreneur, development thinker, and policy maker who has spent 50 years in information and communications technology and related global and national development. Petrucer has served as an advisor to the Prime Minister of India on public information infrastructure and innovation with the rank of a cabinet minister. Sir is also a founding chairman of 5 non-profit organizations, including the India Food Bank, the Global Knowledge Initiative, and the Institute of Transdisciplinary Health. He holds around 20 honorary, PhDs, close to 100 worldwide patents, and has published 5 books and numerous papers. He currently lives, as I said, in Chicago with his wife. So welcome on board. Thank you, and we are really eagerly waiting for the wonderful
Thank,
opportunity and the conversation to take forward. So request Shekhar sir to take the proceedings and the conversation ahead with Sam sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Sheikhar. How are you?
Good, good. So, listen, we've known each other for so many years.
Thank
We
you.
worked together, thought together, wanted to work together more than we have. Maybe this is the opportunity to reconnect and work together.
Thank
But
you.
let's go dive in. Tell me the title of your book. Yeah, we all know that we need to restructure the world, but your book goes into great detail on where the restructuring is needed. Why? Tell me about restructuring. There are certain aspects that you take down, that these are the avenues and the areas we need to restructure it. Just tell me the beginning of the thought, just beginning, the absolute beginnings.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheikhar. First of all, Sheikhar, I personally want to thank you for doing this. I know how busy you are. I know you are editing your film, and in between, you have to take time off for this. So, special thanks to you. Also, special thanks to Penguin for publishing the book, and to Crossword for making it available, the book, to large number of people. The idea of the book has been on my mind for almost 7, 8 years, because I was born just about the time world was designed. I was born in 1942. Last design of the world was conceived just about that time, when US took the lead and decided to set up UN, World Bank, IMF, NATO, WTO, WHO. All of these institutions were created from the last design of the world. So when I looked at my own journey on hyperconnectivity, from the time I got involved in telecom and IT to now, I find that hyperconnectivity has played a very important role in restructuring our society. Transistor was born after I was born. Transistor was born in 1947. And that created a whole new revolution to democratize information. And when I look at world today, I find that the design conceived 75 years ago basically doesn't work. That design did do well in terms of building Europe, building Japan, providing peace, then lifting millions of people out of poverty. But at the same time, that design has created inequality. It has not eliminated hunger, poverty, and it has created huge blunder on environment. So that's why I felt that it is time to put my thoughts together. Look at the design at the time I was born. Look at what has happened in the last 75 years. And if I had an option, how would I restructure the design? And the idea was not to have a revolutionary change, but have an evolutionary change. Recognize that a lot of good happened because of that design. How do we take that design to the next level to really take humanity to the next? We have two options. We can go on with the design we have, continue to build inequality, stress, violence, okay, or take a pause and say, hey, this is the time to do something. And I think Corona crisis forced me to write the book because I was locked up at home for a whole year. And I thought this is a good way to use my time to put all my thoughts together, because Corona crisis also told me that we are all interconnected, interrelated, interdependent, biologically and also technologically. And
So,
that's what
Simon,
it was.
sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, that's
No,
it.
I was saying that Corona has done two things. It forced you to write the book, but it's also forced Corona has become a mirror to our civilization, hasn't it? It's
Absolutely.
forced to us for it is forcing us to look at ourselves. In your opinion, a very quick opinion, then we'll get back to the book. Has it actually changed us in any way? I know there was a lot of talk when it first came, and then everybody still talks about the fact that society has to change, it has to change, it has to change. But there are more billionaires that have been created during the time of Corona than before the time of Corona in that short period. Talk to us about this kind of Corona is also showing us that the inequalities are getting larger in a way. Can you talk to us about
That,
that?
that is the reason to redesign the world.
Yeah,
Inequality will go on rising if we don't redesign the world.
yeah,
Tension will continue to increase if we don't redesign the world.
yeah.
Okay, violence will percolate in every part of the world if we don't redesign the world. Option is ours. Option is people's. You see, today, and I talk about this in the book, there are really two designs of the world that people are talking about. One, American design, which is to continue the same design, which is based on democracy, human rights, capitalism, consumption, and military. Or have a Chinese design, which is built on Belt and Road Initiative, new power, but both of the designs are based on command and control. See, today when you talk about design in the world, they automatically talk about economy, financial markets, geopolitical equation. I'm saying all those are wrong parameters. You got to focus only on two things: planet and people. There is no third thing to worry about. Everything must flow from sustainability and inclusion. Today, sustainability and inclusion are not part of the design. It is a lot of conversation, but no action. Okay. I mean, look at global warming. You have been involved in it because of your interest in water. There has been great deal of conversation on climate control. What has happened on the ground? Not much. Okay. Inclusion. I mean, look at Black Lives Matter here or Dalits in India. Same issue. If we don't pay attention to these two, you cannot create new world. And it's not about just saying, yes, we believe in inclusion. If you don't have Ministry of Inclusion, if you don't have Ministry of Sustainability, if you don't have right kind of organizational architecture, financial resources, you can't do these things. You'll be surprised to know, Shekhar, that in last 75 years, we have not created one major global institution of any substance.
Wow.
Okay? How could it be? So we got to restructure everything. I mean, it was okay to have World Bank and IMF when there was no Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan and all these big banks. Okay. Do we need something else today? I think so. Okay.
Yep. Good question. Part of your book deals with democracy. So my question is, wasn't democracy the mantra at that time, the big mantra that said there is equality, there is, because one person, one vote will actually lead to that. So where is democracy failing us? Or do you think that there is also a new version of democracy that we have to look at?
I think there is a new version of democracy that we have to look at. Okay. Because the tools we have today, we didn't have 75 years ago. Okay. 75 years ago, the idea was we elect somebody, that one person goes to capital and represents us. And there is no communication between that person and public. Now, everything is open. So hyperconnectivity brings about democratization of information, decentralization of implementation and decision making, and demonetization of human services.
Yeah.
Hyperconnectivity also about not just connectivity, it is about content and it is about context. So when you put all of these things together, you see a need for a new democratic platform. See, the cell phone really empowers every human being in a very different way. To me, this is a window to the world. I can find out anything about everything, which was not possible 75 years ago. Okay, 75 years ago, we were supposed to elect a vice person to go and represent us. Today, that vice person is not as wise as we thought. There are other people who are wiser than that person. Okay. So I think we need more participative democracy. We need more decentralized democracy. We need more openness, accessibility, connectivity, networking. So when you have these two visions of the world today, American vision and Chinese vision, I'm saying we need a third vision. Vision that is focused on planet and people. Vision that is embedded in networking of nations, equality of nations. Vision that worries about Africa, because what happens in Africa is going to be affecting everybody else. So people in India, when they say, oh, this is Indian problem, there's no such thing anymore. Every local problem is a global problem, and every global problem is a local problem. Boundaries have disappeared. Many times I say that we have 19th century mindset, 20th century processes, and 21st century needs. And we need to focus on future. We have eyes in front and not in the back. I don't want to look at history. I respect it, but I don't want to go back. I want to look at future. And future is all about science. Future is all about equality, humanity, sustainability. Okay. Future is not about religion. Future is not about differences. Future is, about diversity. But today, look at what is going on in, uh, Israel today. The fight. Okay. Can we afford that in 2021? Does it make sense to throw a bomb at each other? I mean, what kind of a civilization are we? Is that the way to settle differences? By creating more nuclear bombs and all? So we have to focus on non-violence. Is there a global institution on non-violence? No. There is no global institution on non-violence. Who is responsible for implementing non-violence? Do governments have a ministry of non-violence? No. They have a ministry of defense, which is let's create war, build more, defense equipment, and let's fight. You look at Ministry of Health. It is really Ministry of sickness. It is not about Ministry of Wellness. They worry about building hospital. They don't worry about teaching people how to be well. So everything I see today, I question. I start with the fact that everything we do today is basically obsolete. Now let's work backward. The way we teach our people is obsolete. The way we treat our people is obsolete. For example, education. All I want in education is to make everybody a self-learner. Period. Make me a self-learner, leave me alone. Don't tell me I should get 4 years to get a degree and 2 years to get a master's and 7 years to get a PhD, and I'll give you a certificate and it'll cost you $200,000 to learn about business. Come on, give me a break. That's an old model. Make me a self-learner so that by the time I'm 15, I decide what I want to learn, when I want to learn, at what pace I want to learn. But this is huge change in mindset. So that's where I'm coming from. I can't hear you, Sheikhar.
You're talking about a whole new system of education. That's one question. You could take that up and say, are our educational systems skewed in favor of a class? Is that what's happening?
It is.
And the other question was, this new institution or the new institutions that you're talking about. We have the UN, right? It's obviously not working. Otherwise these conflicts in Gaza and Israel would not be happening. Where will these new institutions arise from? Obviously, if it's a China model or the US model or the India model, but where will they arise from? A collective of nations? Or do we have to forget about national boundaries? Will it arise from?
It has to be collective. It has to be collective. Sheikhar, you are asking a very important question. It cannot be dominated by one country. It has to be dominated by humanity. It has to be dominated by concern for our planet. It has to be based on equality. It has to be based on understanding, collaboration, cooperation, co-creation, and not command and control. So 20 countries will have to sit down across the table and say, how do you want to restructure our world? If that conversation doesn't happen, there'll be fights going on between China and US on trade, and India and Pakistan on something, and somebody fighting with somebody else. Don't make sense anymore, because we live in a world of surplus. We are no longer living in an economy of scarcity. We can produce anything. The question is, what is that we want to produce? And for whom we want to produce? We wind up producing for people who can afford to buy, and not for people who need it. So human rights are good, but human needs are even more important. And we can provide human needs to everybody. We can produce everything. So we have to structure our production system very differently. Okay. Today it is all top down, big factories and big foreign investment. Everybody is worried about foreign investment. I don't know of any one country who says I don't need foreign investment. That's a funny thing. Everybody is worried about foreign investment. Okay. What kind of model is that? So we have to redefine globalization, redefine localization. We have to decentralize implementation. We need bottom up development. We have to make sure that small enterprises network to become big. All of this is possible, but we need a new conversation. In this book, I
Question.
go as far as saying, Shekhar, that we need a global constitution, okay, which is based on respecting our planet and respecting our people. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, I was going to ask you because for 10 years, you and I have been talking about this, perhaps even more, that what hyperconnectivity ultimately will lead to what we call the bottom of the pyramid,
Absolutely.
developing on its own, creating its own structures
Right.
without having to be managed from the top,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Why is it not already is it already happening? Do you
No,
see that it's already happening?
no, because all those people who are in position of power have vested interest in preserving the system. You go look at what happens at World Economic Forum. Okay, they are all very rich, famous, and that's what people worship. People publish list of 500 richest people in the world. You open any newspaper, it's more about finance, not about human development, not about planet. Okay. So those who are in position of power have no reason to change because they are milking the system. And those who have something to say and want to change are not in position of power. Okay. So why should billionaire change? They are milking the system. I have nothing against billionaire. Please don't get me wrong. More power to them, more billionaires. But you have to realize that you are collecting that wealth at the cost of somebody else. Okay. And that wealth is just a number. And it's not about making $100 billion and then donating 50 billion. It's not about that. Okay. The model today is I'll make a lot of money and then I'll donate because I'm in the business of donating. That is also a business. I will decide how I donate. Okay. The model has to be empower people, educate people, let them decide about their destiny. Focus on localization while you are globalizing. So we have lots and lots of issues to deal with, and we need a new conversation. All I want this book to do is to begin new conversation. Okay, it's going to be difficult because nobody wants to have this conversation. Okay, I mean they would rather have a book which says how to become a billionaire. That will sell like hotcake. Okay, if you come up with a book saying I will give you 5-step program and you'll become billionaire, everybody would love it.
Hmm.
That's the world we live in.
So why is it different, Sam? Everything that you're saying, that we're not listening to those people at the bottom and the people at the top are actually controlling it, and the people at the bottom actually are being forced to contribute to their billions. That was the basis of all revolutions. That was the basis of the Russian Revolution.
Right, right. Agree. If you look at all revolution, it's all about inequality.
Yeah.
Okay. Every fight is about inequality. You take Turkish Empire, you take, all the fights. You look at what happened in India with British Raj. Okay. It was inequality. I mean, before British came to India, India was 27% of the world economy. When British left, it was 2% of the world economy. What happened? Because that colonial mindset still persists. Okay. We don't want to accept it, but it still persists. We have hierarchies in the families. We need to break hierarchies. We need more egalitarian system. Okay. We need to get rid of feudal mindset. Okay. When I see a lot of these images where people have all these, medals and everything hanging on their dress and all, and I said, what is this in this day and age? What are they trying to display? Okay.
Hmm.
You see, I said, they look like clowns. But people respect that, saying, I got this medal and that medal, and I got cap and I got, lapels here. Come on. I'm questioning all that. Saying be normal, be humble, be simple. When I look at my grandparents who were not educated at all, didn't even know how to read or write, but they gave me world which was simple, poor, but clean. With a green forest, rivers you could drink from, pond you could take a bath in, okay, air you could breathe. But then population was maybe 3.5 billion or even less. Now it is close to 8 billion. And the world I am living for my grandchildren is very complex, is rich comparatively, and it's polluted. Okay. How do I fix that? I mean, it's all there. It's not rocket science, but somehow we ignore it. Nobody speaks, and we need to create new voice. There are millions like us who are concerned about larger cause, who are not chasing money, okay, who have public interest at heart. Can we bring all of these people together and raise voice and say, wait a minute, what is going on in the world today is not good. Okay. How can you have a one guy whose salary is $100 million and the same factory person can't even make, living? That inequality has to be questioned.
And do you think that this new voice will come? Do we have to cross national boundaries and regional boundaries? Do we have to get rid of national boundaries, regional boundaries to form a collective new voice?
Absolutely. And that's what internet does. That's what hyperconnectivity does. Look at it. You are in London, I'm in Chicago, the program is in India. And there are people from Australia watching, there are people from all over the world watching. Okay. That's
So,
the beauty.
yeah. So hyperconnectivity is galloping into hyper connectivity every day. Every day you wake up is a new way of connecting people.
Sure.
And yet everything that you read about connectivity, I mean, I believe there's a common good in connectivity, but if you ask people around, they all say connectivity fake news. Connectivity, people are dominating connectivity. I mean, there's one corporation, Facebook. Few corporations are also dominating our ability to connect, and dominating the way we connect. They create those. How do you, or do you actually think that we should get rid of monopolistic ideas or monopolies in connectivity?
See, there are several aspects of connectivity. One is I don't have to be part of Facebook, Twitter, anything, and still be connected. Okay. I don't have to watch what's going on those platforms. I normally don't. Okay. So I have to decide what I value and what I don't value. If I want to broadcast myself all the time that I went to a party, I did this, I did that, okay, maybe I use Facebook. But if I don't want to broadcast myself too much, I still have hyperconnectivity to explore the world. Go search this, go learn that, go take this course. Okay. So I think these platforms are, in a sense, not doing public good because they are based on two fundamental flaws, according to me. One, they are based on a business model which says more clicks, more money for them. More people register, bigger number. So I can register on this platform as 10 Sampitoda, Sampitoda 1, Sampitoda 2, Sampitoda 3, Sampitoda 10. Okay. This gives me an opportunity to have unauthenticated behavior. So I can hide behind that and say all kinds of things about Sheikhar Kapoor or about Sampitoda. I want internet to be broken into two. True internet, identify that I am Sampitoda. Whatever I say, I take responsibility for it. And a false internet, where I'm going to hide and say whatever I want to say. Nobody wants to do that because that will affect their revenue. So again, you have a business model problem. Okay. But I think it will get settled over a period of time. People will realize what is right and what is wrong. People will understand that this is, you know, truth and this is lie.
Sam, two questions. We'll come to one question that you talked a lot about in your book is the idea of GDP. What is GDP? I've always wondered. There's always this thing that if every woman that was a housewife was supposed to be paid for the duties of what a housewife, not duties, what a housewife does in terms of looking after the house, looking after the children, looking after kids, India's GDP would be multiplied 10 times if you put a value on it.
But remember, GDP also is about building guns,
Yes, that's what I'm asking. What is
handling
GDP?
prison. Handling prison.
Yeah,
I mean, is that GDP you want?
yeah.
Okay. But
So
that's the problem.
why is GDP become? Does it have any relevance now in
No,
our world? Why is
I
all
don't
economics models are based around GDP? And I keep wondering, what is this GDP?
think
Why are
that
people
was part of
addicted
the
to it?
design. No, Shekhar, that was part of the design. Saying, I will judge you based on your gross domestic product. I talk about this in a book.
Yeah, I know.
Someone came to me in 88, 89 and said, look, India is broke. I said, how could a country of this size be broke? What do you mean India is broke? He said, you have only foreign exchange for 7 weeks of import. I said, wait a minute. What's the value of my Taj Mahal? What's the value of my Madurai temple? What's the value of my paintings? He said, oh, that doesn't matter. I said, what do you mean it doesn't matter? On one hand, you talk about, human capital, but human capital is not part of the equation. Okay. So to some extent, it's a racket which has been propagated. People believe it. Fine. It's okay. I'm not an economist, but I want different kind of measurement. Now with big data analytics, I can look at all my asset. If I have a copper mine, on whose balance sheet is it? Okay. You can't look at my bank balance as a nation, and that also in foreign exchange, and then decide how well I am. Who decides whether I'm a developed country or developing country? Okay. So it's all created as a design to say, oh, you are not yet developed because your per capita income is only 2,700 rupees or dollars. Come on. Is the development imply only production? Is there human development? Am I at peace with myself? Am I creating economy by fighting with people? Okay. I mean, these are the issues we need to debate. You know?
Yeah. There's when we look at civilizations that have gone by a lot, whenever we look at them, we don't measure them by their GDP, we measure them by their art. And I wonder what will happen if we measure ourselves today, ourselves, as by our art and by our creativity.
Oh my God. Well, it's one of the richest nations in the world, you will be in India.
Yeah. Yeah.
Culture, diversity.
Hmm.
Look at the diversity in the world. We don't celebrate diversity. We fight diversity. I mean, what kind of a civilization are we where we fight diversity, saying, oh, you are different, you believe in something else. I'm glad you believe in something else. I love you for that. Okay. I talk about this in my book also. I said, look, you look at Security Council, okay, at the UN. If you have 1.5 billion people from Islam and 1 billion people or so from India, why aren't these two on the Security Council table? Why?
Hmm.
And then if I say this, somebody from India would say, oh, why are you promoting Islam? That's not the point. Point is very different. Point is, do we have fair representation for everybody? Okay. Are we really concerned about including everybody in the system? Okay. And I think inclusion has to be the core of human civilization.
Hmm.
I'm big on inclusion. Don't judge me based on what I look or my skin color or my religion. I'm a human being. Respect, dignity is important for everybody. Equality, access opportunity, and then there won't be fight. Fight is all about you are blocking somebody. Then there is a fight. Black Lives Matter here is a fight. You look at what goes on. You know,
Yeah.
Dalits in India is a fight. Yeah,
Yeah. So, how do we begin? I mean, look, I'm inspired. I read your book. I felt very inspired by your book, by your thoughts. Very so contrary thoughts you put into our currently accepted ideas. I've always wondered about democracies. It was supposed to do what you were talking about. It was supposed to bring in equality. It was supposed to bring in sustainability. It was supposed to do all of that. Why hasn't it done that?
because nobody has paid attention to it. Everybody has vested interest. See, I can afford to do this and write something like this, perhaps, because I'm nobody. I'm not a great politician. I'm not a great scientist. I'm not a businessman. I don't have $1 billion. I'm nobody. If I had one of those things, I would have vested interest to protect that,
Hmm.
either to protect my political turf, my wealth, my ideology. No, I'm not protecting my religion. I'm not protecting anything. I want to protect two things: planet and humanity. Okay. And I wish other people would join us in this journey. I think people like you can help us in creating broader dialogue. We need this dialogue in London, we need this dialogue in New York, we need this dialogue in San Francisco, in Moscow, in Beijing, in Tokyo. Okay. And then we will find enough people to say, hey, this is what the world needs. Not 100%. I don't have all the answers. All I want to do is create new conversation and say, can we redesign the world to focus on planet and people so we can take civilization to the next level? You know,
I, go
just
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Sam. Yeah.
into my mind. So a friend of mine from Mexico told me something very interesting a few days ago. He said that when the rocket takes off, there was a time, or there is a time when you have to let the boosters drop. If you don't drop the boosters, you can't go any further. I think we are at a point we got to drop the boosters, which is what we have. In other words, whatever took us to where we are has outlived its utility. That design took us to that level. Now, if we want to go into the next level, we got to drop that design.
Yeah. I actually thought about this, and I remember this dichotomy, this implausibility of who we are. When in 2008, when there was this big economic crisis, and I remember President Obama at that time talking about the planet and talking about resources of the planet are being plundered, and we have to save the resources of the planet. And he talked a lot about it sensibly. Then the very next day, he said, the only way we can come out of the economic malaise that we are in, the economic depression that we are in, by consuming more. And I thought, wait a minute,
Yeah,
isn't there something wrong there? Now
absolutely.
you're
Absolutely.
saying go out and buy and shop more. On the other hand, you're saying save the planet. They didn't, they just clashed because consumerism is the high point. So all our, as you said, all our economic models are based on consumerism.
Absolutely. That has to change. That's what
Yeah.
I talk about in the book, saying, look, we need to conserve. Okay. We need to really focus on sustainability and conservation. Disposable culture is no good. We need durable culture. Okay. I mean, look at the pile of garbage we have in the ocean.
Yep.
It's like a island in itself, and it was created in last 30 years. Okay. Is anybody paying attention to that? Okay. So I think we don't mean what we say, and we don't say what we mean. That political, everything becomes a drama. You are on a stage and you are saying things most of the people don't understand, and most of the people don't mean. Okay. You have to go through soul searching. You need ability to search inside, saying, what do I stand for? At the end of the day, You need to love everybody. I cannot see fight with any human being. Why would I fight with somebody? Okay, just because he's different. Okay, but we keep fighting. We build guns. On one hand we, say peace, and the other hand we want to make a deal to sell $800 million worth of defense equipment. I mean, you look at meetings between global leaders. It is basically marketing guys meeting each other. What do? They do trade deals. Okay, and then everybody claps and say, "Oh, what a wonderful meeting we had." Why? Because we sold some equipment, we did some trade deal. No, nobody talks about human development. Nobody says, "Look, how can I help you?"
Yeah.
America has largest number of people in prison. Okay, nobody talks about it. I know in Chicago there are people who cannot come up with $500 bond, and they are locked up. Okay, I mean, what kind of a society is that? Nobody wants to talk about it. You know?
Yeah. And whenever I read newspaper comments about so many of the conflicts that are going in Yemen now, in Gaza, everywhere, nobody talks about where the arms came from.
Exactly.
You know that those arms came from the very people that are saying, "Hey guys, you have to create peace," and yet they are also the
Stop
arms
supplying
manufacturers.
arms, stop supplying arms, and there'll be peace.
Yeah,
But it's all about business. It's all about making money. It's all about creating your own wealth at the cost of somebody. Okay. I have no problem killing somebody as long as my wealth gets created. I mean, this is sad. And nobody talks about it. Okay. Because if you talk about it, you're an enemy of the establishment. Okay.
yeah. Do you think we need to reevaluate what the idea, what the meaning of the word ownership is?
Yeah.
And we celebrate ownership. When I see that somebody's worth $150 billion, what does that mean? Nothing. It
Nothing.
means nothing.
It's a number. I
A
would
number.
rather worry about trusteeship. I am more convinced of Gandhian idea of trusteeship. I have the wealth because I am the trustee of that wealth. The wealth has been created by community. Of course, I enjoy some of it. Okay. I don't want to be poor. But what is the idea of being rich with $100 billion? What do I do? Okay.
But you also don't have that 100 billion. It's a paper wealth.
Yes, 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 yes. Agree. Agree. You know.
Also with cryptocurrency now, I'm watching it and everybody says, "Oh, now banks are charging it's cryptocurrency." And one man gets up and says, or one nation says, "Oh, my company is going to accept cryptocurrency and the currency is valid." One says, "No, I'm not accepting it," and it goes down. What
Crazy.
does that mean? What does it mean? Nothing.
Exactly. I agree with you. I'm following up on cryptocurrency, because of my interest in IT and all. And I think we are going wrong direction. Okay.
Yeah.
Because everything is about wealth, wealth, wealth. You go to business school, they teach you how to extract wealth. They don't teach you how to create wealth. They spend more time on extracting wealth. You're very smart because you made some commission on something. Okay. A highly educated person wants to go work for a bank. What kind of a world are we creating? I want to question all this. And I'm sure a lot of people will think I'm a madman, you know. And if they think that way, I think I'm on the right track. So I
Yeah.
would like us to create a global movement to bring about this generational change. I think it can be done. There are a lot of bright young people who are looking for solutions. They are not happy with the world. They see that their world is very complicated. They are idealists, and they can join in this movement and they can begin to ask for a
Yeah.
change. Change is not going to be coming from established order. It is going to come from new generation, next generation.
I have to tell you one thing. I was at the World Economic Forum speaking at one of the debates, and it was about copyright and intellectual property, which I don't agree with. You
Yep.
know, what if the Mahabharata had intellectual property in it? What if Einstein's equation of relativity had intellectual property on it? But it was a very simple thing, which really tells me what. So there was a man there who owned, I can't name the brand, but one of the largest clothing brands. And he said, my problem is in India, I can't sell because there's this place called Dharavi, which is a slum. All they do is they take a normal shirt and they print my brand on it and they make 100% profit on the sale of that. And I said, well, that tells you what your brand is worth. You should be happy. They said, I don't get the money. I said, no, because they need the money to feed their children.
Right,
So
exactly.
you should be okay. They need the money to feed their children. So they put your brand on it and they sell it. That's how we operate. And you know what he said? He said, how would you feel if medicines were sold like this, unbranded and false medicines? I said, you don't understand this world, do you? You're equating branding of a t-shirt with life-saving medicine.
Right,
Where do you come from?
yeah.
You know,
So he
it's
said, I want to protect my income.
yeah,
And for that, I have to, misrepresent. I'll misrepresent. I don't even, think about that. Okay.
yeah,
Maybe we should take some questions now.
yeah.
I don't know what,
I see a lot of comments coming in.
okay. Hello. I think our crossword colleagues, they're going to guide
Yep.
us, you know.
Hmm.
But Shekhar, we need you in this movement, really, as a friend and well-wisher, because I know how you think. And
Yeah,
we hundreds of us, we have this group on Thursday that we meet. They're all
yeah,
great people. Okay.
yeah.
We need more and more people to talk about this. Not that we have all the answers. Okay.
No, but not having the answer is also the best way to be, because this world has been dominated by people who say, because we have the answer, follow us. So you'll follow them, and then you realize that they're creating the answer that they want for themselves. I
Exactly.
think it's really important not to have defined answers, because definition also creates monopolies. The
I,
whole idea of
I have
defining
said
things.
that ignorance is a great asset.
Yes, yeah, I agree. To constantly question, say maybe this, maybe that. That's is
Exactly.
how it should be.
Yeah.
Um,
Harshit,
where are
is it Harshit from Crossword? Yeah. Harshil, good.
Yes.
hey?
Please
Yeah.
guide us and
So
see what questions are coming.
yeah, sure. So there were really interesting questions, and first of all, thank you for the conversation. It was really insightful, and y'all both pointed out like where the world should, or the direction, at least the direction y'all have spoken about in the conversation. So wonderful conversation. First of all, thank you both of both the gentlemen. So the first question I would like to ask from the viewer Arun G. So this is about the conversation. He is saying a question with power playing role among nations. What is the way out in relation to creating institution you are talking about? Uh, Sam, sir, if you would like to answer that.
I think like I said, Shekhar asked this question earlier in a different way. How do we start? And the only way to start is to bring few countries on a table and saying, do we want to continue with the design we have and create conflicts in the world, inequality in the world, ruin our environment, or we want peace and prosperity for all, inclusion, diversity, we want sustainability. Let's agree on some fundamentals. If we agree on fundamentals, in a sense, create a global constitution, then we have a platform to talk. Global constitution to me would imply that we all agree we need to take care of our planet first, because we need planet. Planet doesn't need us. Okay. Then we believe in life and liberty for everybody. We don't want to kill anybody. Can we agree on 5 basic principles that world can work together on? And I think then you have a good start. But you need that kind of leadership. World today does not have the kind of leadership world needs. All leaders are petty fellows, unfortunately. Pardon me for saying it. They are self-centered. They are egoistic. Okay. They want to promote themselves. They are not servants of the people. Okay. You don't have Gandhis and Mandelas and Martin Luther Kings of the world. You need those kinds of leaders today. There are very few. You can count them on your fingertips. Okay. If you have leaders who are selfish, you can't get these things done. And you also need leaders who are wise. See, a lot of these leaders are uneducated, petty, pardon me for saying it, and have no understanding of anything. World needs lot many more wiser people, people who are committed to sacrifice, larger public good, and then things will change. Okay.
Thank you. I would move on to the next question. This is by Pratik. So he has asked interesting question. What are the fundamental challenges of the hyper-connected world?
I think fundamental challenges are to network people. Like Shekhar said, network like-minded people irrespective of borders. Connect them, those who are interested in water, interested in environment, interested in liberty, interested in education, interested in health, and create global movement on those domains. Education is education for everybody. Health is health for everybody. And for health, you don't have to be Indian expert or American expert. You could be Japanese expert. You could all come together because then all the knowledge of domain experts will become global. Okay. And hyperconnectivity allows you to connect everybody instantly on all kinds of global issues. Okay. Everything is interconnected. Everything is interrelated. Corona has shown this to us that Corona does not distinguish between rich and poor, urban, rural, educated, uneducated. Corona gets on everywhere. What it means is that we are part of a larger ecosystem. I can't say I'm Indian. I'm a human being first. So when I say something, you can't say, oh, I'm anti-national. Come on, give me a break. Who are you to tell me anti-national? There's no such thing as anti-national. Okay? If there is something I feel is wrong, I would say it. That doesn't make me anti-national. But this is what the media guys say. They're all crazy. Okay? But that's how the world works. Okay? So you got to be really networking people. And that's what hyperconnectivity does this. Hyperconnectivity, as I said earlier, is about democratization of information, decentralization of implementation and decision making, and demonetization of services. Great benefit.
Great. Thank you. I would move to the next question, which is by Anoop, and something similar to the question which I also had. How do you see India, being role in this redesigning the entire world?
I'd like also Shekhar to chip in these questions. I don't want to be the only one answering questions. I would say India has a bigger role to play, but India got to put her house in order. Okay. India has a lot to offer to the world. India is a country of 1.5 billion. You can't ignore India. Okay. But India has to set an example. Okay. We can't give lecture on democracy if we are not democratic ourselves. Okay. So we have to really put our house in order. And I believe India could lead this redesign of the world if India had the right kind of framework. Okay. It is not about what is good for India. It is about what is good for planet and what is good for people of the world. As soon as you say what is good for India, what is good for my party, what is good for my leadership, you're finished. That's the problem.
I'd like to come into that, Sam, because what India seems to have is resilience. Now, where did that resilience of India come? I remember when there was years ago when there was a currency crisis. It didn't affect India that much because a large part of India wasn't affected by the currency anyway. It's like people say, like I'm in London right now, we increase or decrease interest rates. And I'm thinking, how many people is that going to affect in India's interest rates? What does that mean to them? Nothing. There is a kind of a resilience that people that may be slightly spiritual, driven also by poverty, but also, sometimes I want to redefine poverty as scarcity. And because I've been studying water issues so much, you see, water is a scarce resource, always was.
Yeah.
It was always belonging to the community.
Yeah.
Now, if I don't get water in my taps, I say in Hindi, "Mere pani ko kya hua?" Arey baba, tera pani nahi hai. It's not yours. It's a community resource. And that's what we've forgotten. So that there's a large part of India that actually sees water as belonging to everybody. There is that resilience that sometimes that the understanding of what scarcity means, the meaning that, yes, I know that if the monsoons don't come, then my crop won't be good. I need to prepare for that. And yet I say, so, there is that idea of India that deals with the living with less. And I think that's what India can teach.
Absolutely.
We learn to live with less. The bigger economies of this world, like America, have forgotten that living with less is a virtue. They've forgotten that. In
Thank you.
India, either by force or something, living by less, by living with community, living with spirituality, living with each other, has taught us that living with less consumeristic ideas doesn't. I mean, I have, like, you walk around the street, somebody's driving a Bentley. I'm saying, you're driving a Ferrari, why are you doing it? I can't even see who you are. So what's the point? You know, you got to learn what's the difference. Why do you do that? So that's what India can learn, is
Absolutely.
the idea of living with less.
Very good point. I think India can teach world how to be happy with less,
Yeah.
living with less. Very good. Thanks, Shekhar.
Yeah.
So I would just ask the last question. Uh, this is from Amit S. Your thoughts on challenges of AI, artificial intelligence?
Well,
So,
artificial intelligence is just a tool. Okay. It is a tool to analyze big data to really get intelligence out of it. I'll give you one simple example. When GDP was promoted, we didn't have big data analytics. So you couldn't map all the country's assets. What is the value of Taj Mahal? What is the value of Madurai Temple? What is the value of gold in India? Now with analytics and big data, you can get more value out of information. Information is so complex that sometimes you just look there and you come up with a conclusion. You look here and you come up with a conclusion. AI says, I can look at bigger picture and give you better conclusion. That's all. Okay. And you need that everywhere. AI is an ability to see things differently on a broader platform. If you want to analyze data on bicycle, okay, you can look at bicycle in your city and come up with a conclusion. You can look at bicycle from one manufacturer, come up with a conclusion. You can look at bicycle with two wheels and you can come to one conclusion. AI will tell you that this is the universe of bicycle. These are the various segments and sectors, and you can dissect and you can look at different kind of information in different domain. It's a tool.
Yeah. Yeah.
so
AI is
thank you,
also,
and
it's what we extract from AI. So the only thing we have to be careful of is AI itself can't tell you the answer without you asking it.
Exactly.
You know,
It's just a
so it will answer the question that you ask. And sometimes, AI and big data can be used for the wrong question, and then you'll get the wrong
you want
answer.
the answer to suit your needs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
great.
Well,
So
Ashil,
thank you for the yes, sir.
thank you and
So
thank
thank you.
Crossword. People can buy
Yeah,
their book Crossword. I recommend them to go visit Crossword, buy the book, read it, and join us in this movement. Want to once again thank Penguin and especially thank Sheikhar Kapoor for agreeing to come and have a conversation in spite of his busy schedule. And I hope he can be a partner in this conversation going forward, Shekhar.
I really enjoyed your book. It's very inspiring. It's very inspiring. I've always been inspired by what you say and everything that you've done. Of course, we are all inspired by what you've done, and this book is a continuation of your journey. That's really inspiring.
Well, tell your Bollywood colleagues,
Yeah.
okay, because they can spread it much faster than I can do in my lifetime.
Well, you have hyperconnectivity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank
So
you.
nice.